Hello.
Hey everybody! Welcome in.
Hello.
Oh my God, Parker, how you doing? Are you good? You good?
I'm good. I'm on my third cup of coffee.
That's a freaking move.
Are you okay?
No, but thank you for your concern.
Okay. Well,
That's just a general state of being, right?
Sure,
It's just a general state of me.
Sure, yeah. So, hey guys, guess what? Welcome to Highlight Heroes. We are here with the one and only Mendarii. Faye, tell the people about yourself and where they can find you.
Well, hi. Okay. As Josh so wonderfully said, I'm Mendarii. You can also call me Faye. That's my real life name. I say that a lot. Like, I always have to say that because people just assume that it's like another tag name I go by because of all of the D&D stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Faye. Yeah.
But I am a Dungeons and Dragons sort of content creator in general, primarily on Twitch. I have a stream that's twitch.tv/Mendarii, on which I do a lot of homebrew and world building content, lots of sort of like lore writing and mechanics design and all of that good stuff. So I do a bunch of content there. Anything that we make on stream goes up on my Patreon, which is also underneath the same name. I'm on basically all platforms as Mendarii, so you can find me anywhere, like Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, like I already said, Twitch, YouTube. I have D&D videos up there, and that's just kind of everything I do. It's just Dungeons and Dragons.
That's awesome. We love having content creators on the channel because the audience can go find that stuff. Check it out, guys. Tanner kindly shared the link tree in chat, so there's lots of stuff out there for you to go take a look at all of Mendarii's.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
And so...
Oh, wait, also, we talked about this right before we went live, and then I totally forgot it.
Immediately.
Please tell us about your podcast.
My co-host would kill me. So I also... God. I also do a D&D podcast. It is a comedy advice podcast on which me and my co-host Jonathan give what is arguably bad advice, but is a fun time and answer really dumb questions. So if that sounds like a good time to you, you should check it out. It is called Proficiency Bonus. It should be in the link tree also. But I'll drop the Anchor page in there as well, so you can find it on a podcasting platform near you.
Well, thank you. All right. Is there anything else we're forgetting to promote right now?
No, I think that's it. I don't think I'm doing... Oh, well, I am on a stream this weekend.
Where?
Which I normally wouldn't bring up.
No,
However, it is a charity stream for Jasper's Game Day. And it's gonna be over on the Initiative Order. So, that is, they're doing like a whole entire weekend of streams. I'm personally on the one that is at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to see me as a player, you can go check that out as well. So there you go. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. We reserve the right, if you think of anything, just go, ah, at the top of your lungs, and we'll stop, and then you can promote,
Sure.
right?
I'll just scream lots, and then, for no reason, and then just be like, no, I'm good though.
Actually, we're fine.
Perfect. Parker, what do we got for announcements for the beautiful people?
Hello, everyone. I'm here to remind you about our schedule. So thanks for being here. Our next program on the channel is Off the Rails at its normal 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. Then we have Conundrum Company on Saturday. I will miss you guys dearly, but you guys can have Commune DM.
But also sad.
I'm sorry. So make sure to watch all my friends. Hopefully they don't kill my character while I'm gone. And then
driving Demi.
Sunday, you're driving my barge. You be careful with her. And Sunday, we have Cosplay Ground, which is a Neverland TTRPG one-shot by Gothic Fairy Lydia again. It's called What's a Wendy Bird? I'm very, very excited. It features some new faces to the channel, so I'm very, very hyped for that. I'm also supposed to remind you guys, thank you for funding our last community event. It was the one-shot that happened yesterday. Make sure you check out the VOD for that. It'll be up on YouTube pretty soon, but our next community event will be announced probably this coming weekend, so stay tuned for that. You're up, Josh.
Hype! That one shot was so much fun. You need to go check out that VOD.
So much fun.
It was a blast.
So much fun.
Guys, none of this could happen without our fantastic sponsors, the first of whom is Skull Splitter Dice. Skull Splitter Dice, guys. They not only sponsor our shows like this, but they also sponsor a giveaway that we run during our campaign. So be around for those campaigns during the breaks. You can get in on that. But in the meantime, click on the link in chat. Go check out their products. They are too good to us. They just did a huge part of our giveaway for the 10K following. We love them. Please show them that Twee loves them back. Of course, our second sponsor, the gooeyest of cube companies, Gooey Cubes. Gooey Cube makes a bunch of supplemental D&D 5e content for game masters to use at their table. If you don't have time to homebrew a whole world or make amazing stuff like Mendarii does, then check out Gooey Cube. The whole thing comes pre-packaged, ready to go with maps and all that. Yeah, you're like, don't, but more, please. Check it out. Go take a look at the link in chat for you there. That's there. That was a sentence I made. A huge shout out to our campaign members in Tanner Mythalidor for helping with our Twiki. That's our Twee Wikipedia. If you want to learn more about our shows, our games, all the stuff we do, the link is in chat. It's very cool. There's synopsis. Sloan's does a ton of work. It's very good. We love it. Of course, last but not least, the most important announcement to be made is this month's charity stream. Guys, this month we'd like you to focus on the ASPCA. For over 150 years, the ASPCA has worked tirelessly to put an end to animal abuse and neglect. They are a national leader in animal rescue, protection, and placement, and your tax-deductible donation will help fight cruelty and make a life-changing difference for animals across America. Guys, before you spend subs, before you spend bits, before you go to the store or whatever, click on the About section and go to the Donate button. It'll take you right to the donation page. Click on the link in chat, whatever it is. Make a donation in our name, your name, a pet's name, a loved one's name, whatever it is. Just make a donation. Spend your money there. That is where it is best spent, okay? And with that, my friends, now we do the actual interview.
Now we do the thing.
Woo!
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh, no.
First,
I have to talk again.
You have to talk again.
Yes.
Fortunately,
it's okay. I do that a lot, so it's fine.
Oh, we're gonna get along very well. Here's what I'm working on. I've got a half ogre brute mini here. I started painting his arms. We'll see how that goes. Parker, what do you got?
I have a little earth elemental babe that I'm gonna paint like when you crack open a geode, and it's really, really pretty colors because I can never paint anything the way it's supposed to be colored.
A legend. Okay, and Mendarii, the best for last. What are you doing? What are you doing? What do you got?
Well, so I am working on a bunch of little doodles, basically, to build a like little assets so I can make maps with them, right? So each one of these is like a little building that's saved on their own layer when it'll let me click on him. I don't know. There we go. And I was on the wrong layer, that's why.
Rude.
And yeah, so it's basically just little different designs, different colors, so I can just mix and match them.
So now, when did you start doing this? Where did you develop this skill set? Where did all this come from? What is this? This is a big question, but I'm really curious because this is a skill, a trained skill that you're show. I mean, not that they aren't always here, but you know what I mean.
So, I wouldn't say trained, right? I never went to school for it. My brother is actually a very, very talented professional artist within the TTRPG sphere, actually. So, kind of watching that growing up. I always just sort of doodled in my my sketchbook. And then in the past, I guess year and a half, I got a tablet, just a little drawing tablet that I started practicing digital art with. And then I got a big boy screen tablet that I use now. So I'm not the best, but it's fun.
I mean, it looks very impressive just looking at it.
Oh, well,
yeah. I throw maps together in Incarnate, and I'm looking at these assets, and I'm like, those look at the professional assets that they upload for me to use. But you did that by yourself on your tablet, which is,
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking at, for reference, a bunch of different versions of maps and being like, what are the shapes that aren't difficult? So here we are.
Valid.
So that's a lot. That's most of that. But yeah, that's long story short. A lot of just sort of doodling. One day, maybe. The entire reason I did it, by the way, the entire reason I ever wanted to know is because I always want character art of my character.
Oh my gosh, what a mood.
And I'm way too broke to pay people all the time. So I was like, I'll just learn it myself. How hard can that be?
That is some initiative that has been taken. That's impressive.
Very relatable, honestly.
A mood.
So.
Absolutely relatable.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's see. I think it's my question now. So, big one off the bat. How did you get into D&D? Or just the TTRPG space in general?
So let's see. TTRPGs in general, not really RPGs, but tabletop games have always been something that I really enjoyed playing. My older brother, very big on them growing up. Not that he really showed many of them to me ever, so it's not like oh, my brother taught me how to play. That's not what this story is.
You hear that face, brother?
But he did teach me how to play the game that he published years later. Cool. But that was about it. So, I grew up watching this one channel on YouTube that was actually like video gamers, mostly Minecraft stuff. And one of the sort of tangential things, like channels that they have, started posting highlight clips from their live streamed D&D game.
Oh.
And I was like, what's this? And so I watched the highlight and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And it had occurred to me that actually videos that I had watched of theirs like years before they were playing D&D, and I remember like watching it and being like, this game looks like so much fun. What kind of a game is this? I don't understand. Years later, I know, like, oh, okay, that's probably D&D. It was probably like 3.5 or something.
Oh, wow.
Like, I don't remember exactly, like, I don't know what system they were using, but it was definitely a TTRPG. And so I started watching that show. And what was really nice about it, it was high rollers. And what's really nice about it is the first campaign, 3 of the 4 players were brand new to playing D&D. And so a lot of the stuff was sort of explained as they were going along. So I took that and then found like books and like character sheets that I was like, this doesn't look like the character sheets that they're using, and they were for the wrong edition. So that was a whole entire path in and of itself. Because I also was like, how different can they be? And the answer is very. So I sort of learned D&D from reading the books and watching streams and sort of learning the rules before I actually ever got to play. And I found a game store near me that had they had like, Adventurers League there, which of course I didn't know what that was at the time. I was just like, they're playing D&D at a game store. And then my parents were like, don't go there. You know the kind of people who play D&D.
Like your brother. Do you want to be like your brother?
Oh my god.
Yeah, they were like, it's dangerous for you to go alone and blah, 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 blah. And
then they gave you a sword.
Take this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, walking into that store, confidently I can say I was probably the most dangerous person in there.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, I played, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 sessions there. I'm not really a big fan of Adventurers League. And eventually started finding people to play games with. I tried running games and got eventually in a long-term campaign that I was a player in, and then, here we are.
Well, that's awesome. It's a tale of, I think, one of the struggles we all hear the most from like community members is like, how do I find a game? How do I get into this? How do I know what the hell is going on?
Correct.
And your story is the answer. It's like, read the books, look at the stuff, look for the people. Like, it's hard, it is, but
when in doubt, just consume a lot of D&D media and then be sad that you aren't playing, and then that's it.
In my experience, it was yell into the ether to your internet friends long enough until you find one that's willing to DM you, and here we are.
So I didn't really have internet
What's
friends
up,
back
Josh?
then.
It's me.
I was very not in the internet world at that point in time. I mean, like, obviously, like, the internet was a thing and I was on it, but, like, it was all, like, people that I knew in real life.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until probably the past couple of years, I guess 3 years now. That's, wow. That I started getting into, like, you know, being online and meeting people there and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Okay, so wow, that was a really good answer. We got to kind of peel back some layers of the onion, but now we're going to ask you the really hard-hitting questions.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
What's your favorite class to play in Dungeons & Dragons?
Very hard-hitting.
Super hard-hitting stuff here is what we do. This is real journalism.
Okay, so this is like a really hard question for me. I think though that, like, okay, so rogues just in general have like a very special place in my heart. Just in like sort of everything about the idea behind the being quick and stealthy and picking locks and picking pockets and, you know, being a throwing knife wielding thief has always just like been very enticing to me. That was, I think, the first character I ever played like at that Adventurers League was a rogue.
Really?
But the first character I ever played full on like in a long-term campaign was a fighter. And I really enjoy fighters. They're really great. They're so underrated.
Yes! Thank
Fighters
you!
are awesome.
They're amazing.
Like, and then with Tasha's coming out and there being unarmed fighters, I'm like, fuck yes. Oh my god, it's so good.
Pugilists and all that cool jazz. Like,
yeah. And then I think caster-wise, wizards always win. Like, come on.
You big... Yeah, I've heard that a lot. People love them wizards, which, you know, makes sense.
Yeah, my first D&D, someone said Dragonborn Pirates because they're referring to a character of mine that I'm currently playing right now, but my first D&D character was actually a pirate. And playing as a fighter gives you a really cool sort of, you know, like Pirates of the Caribbean, like quick slashes, parries, and attack, like coming back, like if you play a Battle Master and shit like that. It's a really good design for a pirate who's like sort of a swashbuckler as opposed to the rogue subclass, but you know.
Yeah,
that's my 2
with
cents there.
fighters, it's such a flavor thing, I think. Is just like people think sword and board every time, and it's like if you just change the language you're using slightly, you're a completely different character all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's totally different, and I think that they have the most potential for sort of I guess like customization, because there's you can literally put any flavor on it, you know? You could have learned to fight on the streets, you could have been martially trained as a soldier, you could have been martially trained as someone in nobility, you could have been a kid who sort of picked up their pitchfork and saved their town and then was like, I guess I am good at this. You know, like, it could be anything, so.
Very accurate. I think that makes us on to the next question for you, Parker.
It does. So, do you have a favorite race to play?
I think that I have always had sort of a like kinship with half-elves. I've always really loved sort of their design, both like aesthetically and also like mechanically, just like, and also like lore-wise, I've always really enjoyed the sort of like not having a like a place in the world kind of thing. It's always been like a little bit of both, but fully of neither is something that like resonates with me specifically. But also a Ganassi or a Tiefling is always something that I will do and play.
Me.
You're speaking Parker's language here with all of those choices.
The exact answer, actually, yeah. The exact, like, it went in that order, too. It was like half-elves, Ganassi, Tiefling.
And dwarves, of course. Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, no, that's actually not what I said. It's crazy.
So what?
Oh, tension in the
No.
building. Oh god. I'm just gonna be over here adjusting my circles.
Yeah, don't peek beyond the curtain. Everything's fine. So okay, so are there any classes you haven't played yet that you want to try out? Anything on your bucket list?
Let's see. Is there anything that I haven't really played before that I want to try? I think that like full on playing a bard would be really nice. I played a bard in one shots, but I've never gotten the opportunity to like really play a bard. And
It's real good.
And so doing that would be really fun, I think. So that's probably on my list of things to do.
When you were saying the rogue answer to like your favorite class, I was thinking like one of the appeals to me for rogues is that they're really good at being cheeky, like when you're playing with them mechanically, and bards are very similar. Like they're also they're good at cheeky.
I'm always gonna play a charisma rogue, right? Like I don't like playing the sort of like dark, edgy assassin rogue, like because that's always like sort of boring to me. If you're gonna be an assassin, you should be a shadow monk, and spec into rogue. That's my hot take.
We love hot takes here.
We do.
I have so many, but that's definitely one of them because they can literally just like teleport in and out of shadows. You just get 3 levels in rogue, take the rest in shadow monk, you're good to go. So
you play Shadow Kai with that? Holy moly, that's very good.
That's my favorite sort of idea is like playing up to the sort of like charismatic charlatan kind of a thing, and being like, I'm the kind of person that's going to look you in the eye while I steal your gold. So that's, you know,
nice.
I love me some of that. But yeah, that's my heart there.
That's freaking valid.
So, do you have a race that you want to try next, or one that you haven't played that you are interested in?
I have never fully played a half-orc. I have played a half-orc in a like one-shot before, but never in any sort of like long-term game. So I would love to do that. I think that would be really fun.
They're neat. They are.
I think they're cool.
Yeah, I think that they're cool. I think that when I first started playing, I sort of steered more towards the like very, very human looking ones. Just because it was a weird sort of suspension of disbelief thing for me. And so like as I've gotten more into D&D, I'm like because I was like, oh my gosh, tusks. Because the number one important thing to me when I'm designing a character is that they're hot.
Yeah, of course. There's no other point.
I know a lot of people like that. Yeah.
So
you should look at all the campaign art.
Yeah. So I was like, tusks, that's not hot. And now I'm, into this, and I'm like, I can see tusks.
Actually, yeah,
you know
actually, you know what?
So,
give me them tusks.
Yeah. So I'm like, I can make it work. That's sort of where I'm at with that. I think that tieflings were sort of my first foray into that. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like purple and have horns and a tail. That's crazy.
So now here's where we get into the contentious questions. Here's where the hot takes really shine.
I love this. Let's go.
Least favorite class to play and why?
Paladins. Get them
Whoa!
the fuck out of here.
What?
They're so overrated. They're so overrated.
Okay, tell us more.
Please
tell us
explain.
More. Yes.
I have so many feelings about Paladins. So
all of them.
one,
I'm ready for this.
one of the main things I want to say about it is that, well, first of all, okay, so I think that the initial thing that put me off to Paladins is that, generally speaking, at least in my own personal experience, the type of player that they attract are not people I enjoy playing games with.
The only other person that has ever answered Paladin also said that.
Yeah. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's also the fact that I, as a person, am So this is such a difficult question to answer because like there's so many different aspects to it. So I have a very particular view of alignment and how it works, and the short of it is that like I think that if you're doing like chaotic versus lawful, is that lawful is something that's upholding a personal code. It doesn't necessarily have to be the laws of the land. It's just like a very strict sort of like set of personal rules, right? Like you view the world in sort of like a white and black, like this is right or this is wrong or this aligns with what I believe or it doesn't. And that chaotic is sort of living in that in the shades of gray of like, well, yeah, murder is wrong, but like this person tried to kill me, so killing them is justified or something like that. You know, like that's sort of the thing that I think is the main distinguisher between the two. And so I rarely ever play lawful characters because I don't like them as much. And I don't think that paladins can be not lawful. As rules is written in 5th edition, the way that they work, unless they're an Oathbreaker paladin, I don't think that I think all paladins are lawful something. So
interesting.
That's sort of my take there.
That's the kind of hot takes we like, those juicy hot takes.
Well, and then everyone's response to that is always, well, what about a paladin that serves a chaotic god? And I'm like, okay, they're still following their oath. And by nature, having an oath is lawful. Period. Fair. So that's my feels about that.
Nice.
I say as my current character, I'm playing in a very short game, is actually a lawful character. So you know, she's a pirate though. So it's
a lawful pirate. Ooh.
Yeah, pirate's code, man.
You got that pirate's
very
code.
Important.
Parlay.
Very important. Very much so a like duty to her ship, duty to her captain, kind of like honor among thieves kind of a mentality there.
Gotcha. Love that.
Do you have you're good, Josh? Do you have a like race that is your least favorite to play or just does not interest you at all?
So any of the anthropomorphic races in general, I'm not a huge fan of. Just because for me personally, again, it's like a weird suspension of disbelief thing. So like, you know, maybe this will change in coming years or whatever. But it would be terrifying to me to walk up and see a 5-foot tall bird that is talking to me. Like that's scary. And also gets into a territory of like, where do you draw a line between your tabaxi, who is, you know, a tiger in your party, and a tiger that you see on the road? Like, I think that it gets into sort of a weird, like, a morality question that's like so weird that I just like don't want to deal with. I'm like, there's so many other things and so many other complicated issues to get into and address, and like that's just not one that I want to hang with. So
what is sentience? You don't feel like answering that question right now?
No. No, I don't. I really don't. So so that I think if I had to pick one, I'd say Aarakocra / Kenku, but Aarakocra in general because I just can't stand them.
Nice. Okay. Interesting. That's an answer we've never had before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a new one for us. It's always fun to get new answers. Back to the questions, Josh. Well,
I do what I can.
Okay. You know, you started answering this question a little bit earlier, but I'm going to bring us back around to it.
Okay.
How'd you get into D&D content creation? Like, what brought you here? What's your origin story, Spider Person?
Oh, wow. Okay. So...
Hashtag deep.
Jesus.
So... Okay. So with D&D content creation specifically, that sort of came a little bit more recently than content creation in general. I got into streaming because I had a friend who responded to a Reddit post about like a D&D stream that was looking for DMs. And he was running a game that was Sort of like homebrewed 5e, except it wasn't homebrewed 5e at all because he didn't know what the system was at all, and that's a whole other story. But he had this whole entire like power system that he was doing, and so he was going to run that for this group, and he asked me because I was one of the players in his game currently with that sort of system. He was like, "Hey, can you tag along to this playthrough just to sort of like help other people kind of understand like what they can and can't do with these, sort of new abilities." And so I did. And then they basically asked me, they were like, "Well, do you want to be on the stream?" And I was like, "Oh," they were like, "Do you want this to be considered an audition?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then they asked me to be on it, so I was on it for, a while. And from that, a couple months after that, like, I kind of, with a bunch of other sort of contributing factors, I really want to start streaming myself. So I did, and started doing streaming there. So I was streaming on one channel, and I was doing D&D stuff there as a player, but I was streaming, like, game stuff on my own channel. And then I think, like, sometime last year, I would do, like, the occasional, like, homebrew D&D writing stream.
Yeah.
For this world that I was building. And I just really enjoyed doing those because as much as I enjoy video games, I don't like playing them all the time.
Yeah.
And streaming was, I was streaming like 4 times a week, playing video games for 4 hours at a time. I was like, this is the most I've ever played video games in my entire life.
It's a lot.
It was a lot, and like I was constantly like, oh god, I don't know like what game I want to play tonight because I don't really want to play a game and whatever. And so slowly but surely it turned into my channel just kind of becoming a D&D channel and doing that. And I produced a D&D stream on my show also, or on my, I produced a D&D show on my stream as well.
Yeah.
So that also contributed to sort of like starting to build that audience on my channel already, and then,
and then boom.
Just that sort of naturally happened.
That's awesome.
But I've been homebrewing basically since I started playing D&D.
Yeah, you were out of the gate, you hit the ground running with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I basically was like, well, I have to, I want to run a game, and I don't want to learn someone else's lore, so I'll just write my own. Like a fool.
The most real answer to why did you homebrew ever, though.
I would like my own answers.
Yes.
I don't want to look.
Yep. Yes. That was literally it. I was like, I don't want to have to know, man. I was like, if I write it, I'll know. And it's so much work. It's so much work I made for myself.
I love that answer, though. That's relatable in a lot of ways, but then I am also like, I just love lore. So like, I like when people homebrew and stuff. So it's like, I enjoy reading all of it, which is fun.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, mine's mostly just a lazy thing.
No, I'm very much resident note taker, and I like lore a lot.
I definitely take notes when I'm playing in a D&D game for sure, but that's mostly just because you'll tell me something and I will forget it.
Mood.
So
yeah,
I write it down so I don't, and then I forget it and never think about it again until someone says something similar, and I'm like, wait, I think I wrote that down. I'm gonna flip through my like little notebook, and I'm like, yes, on this day I wrote these notes. I don't know what they mean. But I wrote this about
That's
them.
also relatable. I wrote this note and I don't know what it means.
And you always write in short form, so it's always like something Tiamat sandwich? Why'd I say that?
It's like, this person's on the roof, with the shoeing thing. And then I'm like, right, of course, I know what that means.
Yes, good job,
And if I look later in my notes, sometimes I'll know. I'll be like, oh, that's what that meant.
It's again,
okay.
Decipher what I said at some point, yes.
Yeah.
So I think we're on our last question. So that means for everybody in the audience, if you guys could kindly begin to post your questions and highlight them as you go. If you do not have the channel points to do so, one of our mods will probably catch it and just highlight it for you. but we'll go through pretty soon after this question and start with yours. So, last one from us is, what is your biggest hobby outside of D&D?
That's imagining I do anything outside of D&D.
It's always a fun question to ask everybody that's on this channel. What are you doing or not?
It's so funny because I'm like, I really don't do anything outside of what I do, because like I would say streaming, but streaming is D&D. So it's kind of my entire life. I will say that like I do have a lot of like little hobbies. Like obviously I draw, and I haven't in a bit, but I really enjoy sewing. And would like to get better at that. There's a lot of like little sewing projects that I would like to do. And sort of get more into like cosplay stuff. I've done a couple of costumes before, but not anything kind of major. And I write. Again, a lot of that right now is lore for my world. So you know, streaming is my full-time job. That is what I do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's criticizing gymnasts. That's true. I do that. I was a gymnast. I grew up as a gymnast. And so I was talking about this on stream the other day about how I watched a Simone Biles routine that she did, floor routine that she did. And I want to preface this by saying that Simone Biles is a fucking incredible athlete and gymnast, and the things that she was doing were insane. Like, she's doing these flips that are like, I actually don't think anyone else in the world can do them. Like, they're so hard. However, on every single tumbling pass that she made, she stepped out of bounds, which is like a huge no-no, and like such like a basic like thing. Like, you know, if you've ever seen any gymnastics thing, it's like a blue square and then there's like a white line around, and if you step outside of that white line, it's a deduction. And so it's just like something that I was like, every single tumbling pass she landed outside of it, and I was like, come on. And so like even though I could never, you know, like, it's not like she's incredible. But...
You're like that guy at the baseball game who's like, come on, choke it up, buddy. And he like is like completely incapable of like doing it himself. But yeah.
Very like a judge of gymnastics, where it's like, I can't do it, but I know what it's supposed to look
what it
like.
should look like.
Yeah.
And it's not what you're doing, people.
It's such like a small thing too. I'm like, if you just both feet too. It's not like a little step. Anyway,
if you do the thing and you do it right, it just works.
Very relatable. I do that, but with voice, because
I get that.
That's my job, partially. But like,
it's your job. Ooh.
I majored in music, and I'm a voice teacher, and so it is one of those things that I also subconsciously am like, oh, don't. But I mean, like, I couldn't hit that note either, but like...
I totally do. I do the exact same thing. I was in theater for a very long time. So I do 100% the exact same thing. Which it's like, you know, it's sort of like unjustified level of like criticism, that it's like, well, yeah, like obviously I couldn't do it. But I think that there is something to be said about like critiquing things, like, just because someone is incredible or at something, or that you couldn't do what they do, doesn't mean that it's not that you don't have any place critiquing it, you know? Because it's critique, and that's just kind of something you do for fun, or at least I do. I don't know. Maybe that makes me a shitty person.
No.
We're really getting down to the bone of things here in this interview. You're like, oh god.
Listen, man, I never claimed to be a nice person. I'm just like vibing and.
You're great. You're wonderful. Don't worry about it.
Stuff out here.
I love that so much. Well, I think that means it's time for questions, right, Parker? Do you want me to? You've done the last few. Do you want me to do these ones?
I can do it. I am like literally at a breaking point with color, so we're good.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll keep fidgeting.
Keep on keeping on, my dude. All right, so
shut up.
Don't you talk to her.
Did you hear her?
Don't you talk to her.
She's back here like, meow! Every time Faye says anything, Sassy's back here agreeing loudly.
Yes, Sassy, let's go.
Queen.
Oh my god.
Mythalidor asked, if you could cast Find Familiar in real life, what would your familiar be? Oh.
Oh man.
Everyone's gonna think that I should say a bat, because that's sort of like a thing on my channel. But like realistically, I need to go look at the whole entire list of find familiars because there's a lot. I think probably a snake or an owl, is what I would do. Oh, or a hawk. Fuck, God. There's so many like cool things that it's like if I could have this as a pet, then I would do it, right? Because it's like I can have a cat as a pet, right? I have a cat as a pet, and I have a dog as a pet, and I could have a frog or a crab or like a lizard or a fish or whatever. But like,
I think you just wrote a children's book.
Yeah.
Good.
Somebody write a children's book that's just like picking a familiar. Like that's the children's book.
It's a very good concept, guys.
It's a wizard's children's book.
We should roll with this, honestly.
Canonically, hold on, I gotta make a note of that. I'm gonna put that in my D&D setting.
Do
it.
Like,
this is a very common children's book.
To find a familiar.
Wouldn't
it be
so
cute?
Good. Oh my god.
It's written in a very Doctor Who-esque kind or not Doctor Who, Jesus.
Doctor
Seuss-esque.
Oh no.
Doctor Who children's book, my goodness.
Oh my god.
It would be so cute though. It's just called To Find a Familiar, and it's kind of like Are You My Mom? The kids book about like Are You My Mom? That one, but it's just like a kid being like, Are you my familiar?
Again, by Doctor Who.
God.
Are you my mom?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you my mom?
Stop it.
God, that episode's fucking so sad.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so fucking sad.
Did you know that it's the only episode? I don't know if this is still true, but for a long time it was the only episode of Doctor Who where no one died.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because it was like a big. Yeah, I used to be like a really big Doctor Who nerd. I am very not anymore, but I used to be. There's a whole entire thing in that episode where he's like, no one dies today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For once, like no one dies. Yeah.
Yeah, and so no one
Everybody
did. And that's
lives.
like the only time that's ever happened.
Oh my gosh.
So
well,
fun
now I
facts
want this
with
children's
A
book.
today.
Now I want a children's book. Okay.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
The Auburn Alchemist asked, "What is the most complicated rule you unintentionally wrote?"
Oh.
That's a really good question, Kat.
I don't know about unintentionally wrote.
Mm-hmm.
But I started out wanting to have unique rules for how death works in my game.
Mm-hmm.
Which started out as sort of like very simple, like I was just gonna use like Matt Mercer's rules, right? That's like the whole like ceremony, whatever the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned into like a lot of different charts and percentages, and like it's really complicated now. So,
Honestly, valid.
So probably that. I really like my death rolls. Like I really like them, but there's like a lot of rolling and they're very complicated.
Okay, so this is something, just adding on to this question for a second, because this is something that comes up with a lot of people when we talk about this, and it's a very like different thing. So as far as D&D 5e goes, how do you feel about how they treat death?
That's always
not great. And
yep,
that's
there
why...
we go. Okay.
So that's why I have changed it, because once you get basically to like level 5 and beyond, I mean, I'm still at level 5, I think it's a little tentative, but like once you get to like 9, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Death never matters. It's fine. The second that you have like any magic that can bring people back from the dead, it means that you basically have 0 consequence anymore, and there are no real stakes.
I will say, Josh doesn't do that. We're level 13, and Josh, we were level 12? We were level 12. I am the one with Revivify, and that person is for sure gone.
Sure, I mean, like, obviously there's, like, components to, you know, like, whatever, but, like, a lot of people at a certain point, like, you have a lot of gold, you can buy components, and it's, like, whatever. Yeah. It's very minimal.
I was curious to hear about it, because you are not the first person that has said that. It's actually like pretty universal on every DM that I think we've talked to. It's just kind of like death doesn't matter as much, and it does change the game. I wanted it to matter as much at level 1 that it does level 20. Not that I really like running at level 20. I don't really like high level campaigns personally, but it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have a lot of big fifis about it, but I have an opinion about everything. So if you ask me about them, we could be here for a long time.
Perfect.
But to keep it short, like I wanted death to be meaningful, and so I actually have like sort of a homebrew rule where unless otherwise specified, all damage that you do is non-lethal. So it is assumed that you are like pulling your punches instead of the inverse, which is assumed that you're trying to kill the people that are attacking you.
Yeah.
And I do that with spells too. A lot of people are like, well, what about fireball? And I'm like, look, man, like if you can conjure a fireball and cast it, you have enough control over your magic to not murder people. The only exception I have to that is like actual explosives that you set off. Like if you like just light gunpowder and then just set it off, whatever. You don't know. You don't have no control over that.
How do you make that work with spells like disintegrate? Is that just a lethal intent?
I think it's sort of like implied.
Okay. Yeah, that's my question.
Like
I was like
I'm not gonna if you cast power word kill on someone, I'm gonna assume that you're trying to kill them.
You're trying to power word kill somebody? Yeah.
Right. Like I'm gonna assume that you're trying to kill them. Okay. So there is a little bit of a give and take there. It's not an all-encompassing rule, but it is. I stab them in the neck non-lethally. Right, but you could like make an attack. It's like if this is my finishing attack, instead of slitting their throat, I hit them with the hand, like the hilt, you know, or whatever, or the blunt side of my sword instead of slashing them across the stomach. It's more of like a bludgeoning thing or whatever. There's
one with that sort of thing, right? That isn't being decided until you've been like, okay, oh no, my. We just lost our person. We're gonna just jump over to the emergency quad. Oh, nope.
There we go.
I'm so sorry.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And then closed out.
Oh no.
Oh boy. Thanks, Discord.
Discord, no.
It's like, oh no.
Been
in
a mood this weekend for sure.
It really has.
I very logged off. I'm so sorry. Here, hold on. Let me get my screen back up. Hopefully it'll fix your things.
Yeah, it should. There we go.
Okay.
Bear with us 1 second.
There we go.
Boop,
it's
boop.
fine.
Sorry, guys.
I'm
Hey!
so sorry.
It's okay. It's literally not the first time and not the last time it will ever happen.
Yes.
We've done it mid-campaign. I've watched multiple of my friends and myself once click to the wrong chat. So like
it's so easy to. So what happened was that like I was like, okay, I'm gonna mouse over the Discord icon and just click on the thing because I wanted to it was minimized. And there are extra buttons at the bottom that I'm not used to having because I'm in a call. And so it was just like hang up, and I was like, no,
Whoopsie.
not that. So I love getting these kind of questions in the middle of all the D&D.
Hold on, wait. Josh was in the middle of saying something, and
Josh,
I did
what were you
not hear
saying?
it.
Oh, I don't. So yeah, with that sort of thing, like right.
Go for it.
You know that the hit points have been reduced, right? And you're asking the player, what does this look like, or whatever your process is for getting them to flavor that. And if they begin to articulate it like it's lethal, you're like, okay, are you doing lethal intent? And problem solved, right? Like whether you're, because if you say, okay, you just hit them, and what does that look like? And they go, I'm gonna stab them in the neck. You go, so you're doing lethal? And they might go, actually, you know what? No, I want to do this. So that stab the neck thing.
Yeah, it's
roleplay is give and take.
Like it's sort of a thing where communication's really, really important at my table. And like I am very much so the person that is like if something, if we're addressing something in game that is upsetting and maybe wasn't something that you thought would be but is, or whatever, whatever happens. Like say you're talking about, I don't know, dwarves, and for some reason that's just like a really heavy thing for you right then. Like
pull it back.
I don't know. I mean, like I will
tell Josh so damn good.
Dwarves, loves them so much.
It's like, but like I want to have that level of communication, like in a long term game. I understand like with short term it being a little bit more of like an awkward, I don't know when to step in kind of a thing. But I try to at all of my tables be like, look, if something ever is not something you're okay with, just tell me right then and there, and I will entirely change it. I don't care. I don't care if it changes the story entirely, it's not important enough.
Yeah.
So,
which is very good.
This is a game. This is a game we're trying to have a fun time.
Yes.
Which is what all DMs should do.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't even need it to be like a flawless transition. I can just go, okay, give me a second, let me think. Okay, let's do this instead, and just entirely reset the scene and move on. So
this is going to seem like a very small question after that very wonderful answer.
Oh,
but Marishi66 asked, butter, sweet or salty?
Oh, god damn it.
I imagine that's something about your channel.
So Rishi and I fight a lot about this because I think that all butter should be salted, especially in baking. I don't think that there is ever enough salt in recipes, and I think you should always use salted butter, and it makes things taste better. And he disagrees. So we get into a lot of fights about that, and also buttered pasta on my stream.
Buttered pasta is very good.
Well,
yeah, I know.
Okay, buttered noodles is great. I'm confused. Okay, moving on.
A lot of people have never heard of it. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole comfort food for me. Anyway, Fluba Buttons asked, what's your favorite magic item? Ooh. It can be one you made.
I mean, I do like magic. You know what? Actually, that brings up a good point. Okay, I do have a couple of different magic items that I have made that are called flawed magic items.
Nice.
Okay.
That are something went wrong with the enchantment. So it's kind of the embodiment of in a magic item of they're a little confused, but they've got the spirit.
Oh no.
So an example of that, I'll read off one for everyone. Let's see. Let's go look at so I have a thing called the unerring arrow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes in different rarities. You can get it as a +1, +2, or +3. It's a magic piece of ammunition. And this arrow, when fired, will not yield until it strikes true. If you fire with this arrow and you miss, it will fly through the air and go through the initiative order and will attack until it hits the next person. So it will always hit someone. It just might be you.
That's very good.
Or your friend or whatever. So that's an example of that.
That's masterful. I love that. That is evil and amazing. I'm a big fan.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I have another one that's like a friendly fire thing, which is exactly what you would think it would be.
Oh no.
It's got basically a percentage chance to set the person that you're shooting at on fire.
So it's the alchemy class in Pathfinder 2e.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I haven't played Pathfinder 2e.
It's very good.
I'm not really interested in Pathfinder at all, except for 2nd edition. I've heard that it's a lot less crunchy.
It is a lot less crunchy. It's still crunchy, but a lot less.
See, and so I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be into that, but I'm tentatively interested in 2nd edition. But
I really like the lore, so I get over the crunchy.
I've heard that the lore is really, really great, and from what I've been told about it, I'm that's really interesting, which I do actually think is something that's lacking in 5e.
You should really check out the witch class.
I'm building my own, so I actually have been actively avoiding any sort of witch class stuff, just so I don't steal shit inadvertently. But I will check it out probably after.
You're after I'm done, I will see what this is.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that class. It's so much fucking work, though. Oh my god. oh my god. It's so much.
So let's see. Cremaniac asked, favorite moment when either you or your party broke the DM in the game?
Always a solid question.
I don't know if I can actually remember anything.
Mood.
Here's the thing. People always have really cool stories of great nat 20s or nat 1s, and there are game moments that I totally remember, but they weren't necessarily because of dice rolls. They were just because of something hilarious or terrible or really intense that happened. And I'm trying to think of something, because a lot of the break the DM kind of stuff is just stupid one-off jokes that me or my friends will make.
Also
at each other. I think that one of my favorite like moments where the entire table was just like, oh my god, was I was playing. This was actually in the game that I used to host on my stream called Party Foul. I was playing a character who was the twin sister of another player in the party. And so her twin brother, we had found this mirror that was basically like an interdimensional jail. And so if you shifted the direction that it was facing, it would show you like a new like interdimensional space, basically, where there may or may not have been a prisoner. And so my character, not here while this is happening, my twin brother is going through and saying hi to everyone in there. And the mirror has very simple words that you speak aloud, that it's like if you say, I think it was like trap or something like that, or open or something, someone would go into it. And close would be like turning the mirror off, and free would be setting someone free, and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So he's going through and he's talking, and one of the things in there is an elder brain.
Oh, no.
And so he starts talking to it. And I'm sitting here because obviously out of character, I can see what's going on. And I'm like, fuck, is she awake yet? Like, can we go like fix this? Cause like my character is still asleep or whatever. And he's talking to him, and he asks him what, this elder brain, what its name is, and he goes, oh, it's this like, whatever thing in my native tongue, but you can call me Freeman. And he goes, oh, okay, Mr. Freeman. And the second that he says free, the elder brain disappears from in there. And everyone at the table, we're all just like, oh my god. And the player was like, oh my god, I got duped. And my DM's just like cackling. It was really funny, but also was a lot of problems later down the line.
I was gonna say, when did that come back to bite you in the butt?
Very fight we had that was we almost died, but then the thing teleported away, so we didn't actually kill it, but it was a whole thing. So
you're like, almost.
Yeah. Yep.
This is a really good question. Commune DM asked, what is your favorite part of the homebrew process? Theorizing, building stats, etc. What's your favorite part of the process?
Oh.
It's a very good question.
I think that my favorite part is probably the brainstorming part, but not like the part where you're like, fuck, I don't know what to give to this. It's sort of like when someone says something, or something that I've read or something that I've said is like sparks an idea of like, oh my gosh, if that's the case, then what about this thing, and then what about this, and whatever, and sort of adding on the different like aspects that like you can kind of whittle down into specific mechanics later. So that's sort of from like a mechanic perspective. From a lore writing perspective, my favorite part is when things come together on accident. That's my favorite. So I'm doing a lot of world building stuff, right? To sort of elaborate, because I know that that's a generic thing to say, and you're like, what does that mean? I'm doing world building for the entire world, like top down, instead of like bottom up kind of a thing. Because I'm not currently running a campaign, and so I don't need to be super specific. I can be more overarching with the things that I'm doing. And people always ask me about like what like the conflicts of the world are like. And I'm like, listen, I'm still building the cultures of the different societies, and I don't want to introduce any new wars or anything like that and get into the nitty-gritty of that before I know sort of what the core, like, values of each culture are like and where they conflict and blah, 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 blah. So I have a little world map, and I go around and I build the little different things there, and I built this one society that sort of... they're very big on the pursuit of magic, but only certain types of magic. So I have 3 different types of magic. I've got arcane, primordial, and divine. And I'm not going to go into the other, like, what the types are outside of the fact that divine magic in my setting is not only from gods. It is any power that is gifted to you from another entity. So like warlocks also do divine magic. And so the other 2 types of magic are more about like studying and or controlling elements or whatever. And so there's a society that's like, well, divine magic is sort of a cop-out, you know? Like, if you practice divine magic, it's like, well, you just asked for your powers. Like, you didn't actually put in any work there. And then I have a different society where they are basically... arcane magic and primordial magic have been outlawed. And divine magic is the only magic that is done there. And on accident, they happen to be directly next to each other. I didn't plan on doing that. That was not something I went into that was like, I'm going to put these conflicting forces right next to each other. It just like happened because I was like, well, I know that these people live here. Let me go look at my map and where that is. And
all I'm picturing is a party having to go like through both of these things, and somebody that uses divine magic being like, yeah, I totally have to study in this book. It's the Bible, but it's a book. like I just immediately am thinking about how a person only using one kind of that magic would have to fake it where they are.
Yeah. I think that in one, it's so in the one where they don't really have divine magic, it's not outlawed, it's just like sort of like frowned upon. It's like, oh, you do divine magic. Okay, so you don't really do magic, kind of.
Daddy gave you your powers.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a trust fund kid. I see.
You have to work for that magic.
Versus like the other one, arcane and primordial magic are very specifically outlawed. Like you can't practice them here. Not that like you can't ever practice them or that you'll be like put to death or anything like that. There's nothing like super crazy extreme, but they're like, no, those magics are sort of dangerous. And so like this is for your own protection, kind of a mentality of like, you know, these, and there's only specific gods that are allowed there too, and like because they know that those entities are looking out for your best interests and like whatever.
Now I'm picturing a wizard putting a book sleeve over the spell book that's just like the book sleeve of like whatever religion is acceptable there, and being like, yeah.
Everyone's got like holy symbols that they just like put on, and
yeah, they have like little enamel pins that's like, yeah, I'm for this god. What was their name again? Like, like absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we're a little bit over, but I think we only have 2 more questions. Are we good with that? We good with that?
I got nothing else to do tonight.
All right. We're so, Rishi66 asked again, favorite musical? Is that another thing that's a thing
I think it's just because I mentioned musicals in general. Like because I did theater and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite musical is Urinetown. Like,
yeah,
sort of just it just blows everything out of the water. But a close runner up would be Hadestown, I think. I also really enjoy. So those are my top 2 there.
Good. The Albert Alchemist asked, has there been a character or moment in game that has impacted you significantly in real life?
She
no.
loves that deep-ass question, yeah.
Wow, okay. It's a very intense question because I think when I make D&D characters for a campaign that I'm going to be playing in for a long time, I make a character that's like really important for me at that moment in time. Like, for example, a couple of years ago, I was in a pretty dark place personally, and I really needed sort of... I made this character who was just this, like, bright little piece of sunshine, who was just, like, very, very optimistic, very loving, very caring, and sort of a beacon of light to the people around her, and that was, like, something that, like, I really needed at that point in time. And so I think that it's sort of, whatever I'm playing is sort of informed by wherever I'm at in life. Not necessarily, and not like to like 100% the degree of something being, you know, if I'm playing like a really, really like edgy, dark character, it's not necessarily because I'm in a terrible place in life or whatever, but it could be that I'm struggling with something specifically or whatever. So
yeah,
you know,
it's fair.
Super valid.
Super duper fair.
Super valid. Was that our last question, my guys?
I think it. Double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything that wasn't highlighted.
Hello, Raiders! Welcome, welcome!
Hello.
we're just closing out as you raid, but it's good to see you all. L2S Entertainment, World Builder Raid.
Hello, hello. I do believe we are good.
All right.
We did everything.
That means it's time to show our amazing work off. I've been painting. We've got some skin tones, some browns, and metallics in there. Yeah, you can't really see, but that's okay. Parker, what you got done?
I started doing the base colors on him, but he has no transitions or anything yet. But he's just he's
beautiful blue
angry
boy.
Man.
I love it.
Angry man.
Love it. All right, and now, Mendarii, have you had a chance to get anything done, Faye?
Very, very little.
What you got?
Keep you occupied.
It's not great, but I started building like a little sort of. I don't know. I think it's gonna be maybe a gazebo or something. So like some round boy.
A pavilion.
Some round.
A pavilion,
boy.
maybe. Yeah, it's got like a little, sort of like lower. Like I think that these are gonna be stairs thing happening right here. So I don't know. I don't know. Not a lot, but. But that's
the aim of the show.
Sorry, guys.
Is to tell you to do something and then not let you do it. So you're good.
Yeah, you did it. You've accomplished.
I was actually feeling real not great about it, but now that I've zoomed out, it looks a lot better. So
it does look really good.
It does. Looks good.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, so with our work done and shown, a few quick final announcements from Parker and I, and then we're going to have you tell everyone where to find you, Mendarii, but really quick, thank you to our amazing partners, the first of whom is Soundtail, who brings all that ambiance to our games. We love them for it. Check out their products. The link is in chat. It's very good. It makes things super spooky and things like that. And of course, our second partner, Arcane Anthems. Weston makes a bunch of D&D 5e music that is actually free to use if you go over to his Patreon. Grab yourself a copy of that. It's highly recommended. He's got a bunch of merch and stuff too, so check it out. And thank you, Weston. Parker, over to you.
I'm here to remind you that we're affiliated with Found Familiar Coffee, so if you would like 10% off of D&D inspired coffee, you can use the code in chat.
Okay, and last but not least, a huge thank you to all of our mods who do a ton of work up until the last minute for all of these shows to make sure that everything's right and accurate and correct. We love you guys very, very much. Much appreciation and love for you. Now, Mendarii, Faye, thank you for hanging out with us. We really appreciated it.
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot about you.
Oh my god, probably too fun.
Now that everybody knows every single detail about your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone. I don't think I have more.
Now that you're the best of friends of everybody in the audience, where can they go and watch your stuff and see your content and all that jazz?
Okay, well, hi. I'm me. I'm Faye, or Mendarii. That's my handle on all of the things. It's spelled Mendarii, 2 I's at the end, very important. And I make content on Twitch primarily. That is what I do. I stream Tuesdays through Thursdays, and also on Sundays, from 12:30 p.m. Central Time to like 6:30ish. So if you want to see most of my content, that is where it is primarily. The things that we work on stream go onto my Patreon, which is, again, under the same name. All of my links are in the link tree that has been so wonderfully posted in chat. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. It's funny, I think. It's short, too, so that's...
So if it's not funny, you just get through.
If it's not funny, you didn't waste very much time.
Love that. Excellent. That's the pitch we want to hear.
I think I'm hilarious, but that's mostly a me thing. So if other people are interested in that, you should check it out. And yeah, I think that's all the things that I do.
Well, thank you again. We love you for hanging out with us. And
yes.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon here at the Welcome In. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you all Friday for Off the Rails. Woo! Okay, bye. I swear to God, I know how to close this. There it is. Okay, now actually, one more time. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1. Goodbye.
Oh, okay.
And